Joining to discuss is a political commentator on various Israeli news channels and podcasts, including Now 14, NTD News, and others, and host of America Unfiltered podcast, Tamir Gedalia. Thank you so much for joining me on this wild day, a sad day, no matter which way you look at it. People have died. And I remember the images, the videos. I can't even watch any more of those. It's just so horrific. So how are you feeling 2 years later, as there's peace talks coming? Do you see those peace talks coming along well? What are you thinking?
So thank you, Kristi, for having me. First, I just want to give you maybe kind of a symbol of how we are still grieving and still in shock, the people of Israel and around the world. Just came out a narrative TV series called in Hebrew First Light or Rishon about October 7, like showing step by step what happened, everything that happened there. And the number one complaint about the series that it's too much triggering people, that they cannot even watch it. In Israel, they're turning off the TV because they cannot have it. Almost everybody knows someone. I know people that either died and injured in October 7. We are still a very small country. It's less than 10 million people, and we had thousands of injured, more than 1,000 died, including so many children, women, especially children, women. I actually just saw now a new thing, 41% of the people who died on the Israeli side on October 7 are under 21. So children, in my opinion, as well. And it's, Israel is grieving today.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, to see all these pictures, not even of the horrific things that happened, but those that have died, like you said, children, babies. It's just so awful. There is, of course, anytime anything that involves Israel, there's a lot of back and forth and arguing about the facts, what happened that day, the truth of what happened that day. So I think that that's fair game. I think we should be able to talk about those things, freedom of speech. Let's get to the truth together. But again, I'll repeat, there's no question that lives were lost and that families were ripped apart and suffering. And so the focus should be there and having compassion and grieving and mourning along with everybody else. At the same time, like I said, there are questions we can at least talk about that. I came across one woman that went viral on the day that it happened. She says she's a former Israeli soldier in intelligence services. And her name is Efrat Fenigison. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but I want to play a quick clip of what she had to say and then give you a chance to respond to what her complaints are.
I'm sharing from my own personal experience as a soldier 25 years ago in intelligence forces, where I was part of an apparatus that would alert a lot of security personnel about a breach like this, for example. And there were 15 breaches in the fences back then. So I spoke out from my personal experience and asking questions, how the hell is this allowed to happen with the strongest army in the world, supposedly? It didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense until today. And there were not many answers released, official answers, although there were many new evidence that came to light since then in those 2 years. And I have written about them, spoken about them. I will put a link to those things there. There are evidence that they knew that this is happening. They knew that this is coming. Even when it started, they already knew. And there apparently was some kind of a stand down order to tell the army not to come in.
Now, I posted her clip that she did today. That was just the beginning. It was a longer clip, of course, and I already have people arguing all over my social media page back and forth about what she said. But some things have been widely reported, that there was this testimony of a stand down order, that there's even a 40-page document that talks about how Israel was given advance notice that something like this could happen, but they brush it off like they didn't take it as serious. What is your response to those that are angry, that they feel like they haven't been told the whole truth about this day?
Yeah, so first of all, before I'm getting to that there are many conspiracies on everything that is happening, even in America. Charlie Kirk, there is still conspiracies
Of
that
course.
actually
Yeah.
the killer is not the killer, of course, without even talking about 9/11 and all the other stuff and Kennedy assassination. In this case, I'm open to every conspiracy. I'm open to hear. I'm open. It was the thing is that almost unfortunately, it's even bigger than the conspiracies. It's even sadder that I really believe that this is just one big failure that was just unexcusable failure. And it's such a big failure that there are many conspiracies around it because people cannot believe that maybe the most
Yeah.
guarded country in the world couldn't. We were just surprised and in shock, and there is so much criticism. For example, the number one, they say, Air Force in the world, maybe number two after USA. No planes were coming to the rescue and to shoot at the terrorist from above at October 7 morning for 8 long hours. I can say someone was in the Air Force. The moment we identified something weird in the sky, some drone, it was 18 years ago. It took less than a minute before a jet already was after this alleged drone. And yeah, that's why people cannot believe it. But I still, with all the facts and everything I see, it seems like there was some smug in the Israeli IDF in October 7, before October 7, about Hamas, about Gaza. They didn't appreciate the enemy enough of what he can
Mm.
do. And what happened is just that we were caught. And on a holiday day, it's like it will happen on Christmas morning. This was Simchat Torah, Sukkot, which is a holiday. Everybody's home except of the essential soldiers that need to stay on guard. And we were just caught off guard, and the rest is history. And I still believe it's just a big failure and not a conspiracy.
So there was the missing of the warnings, which it sounds like you're acknowledging as a
Yeah.
massive failure that gave rise to what you might call other conspiracy theories. But what about this testimony of a stand down order? There were people that just couldn't believe that they were hung out to dry, that this went on for so long with very little to no help. What do you make of that? That was just part of the failure?
I believe that first of all, yeah, it does raise a lot of questions, but also the systems were a bit in a shock, and they didn't know what the best thing to do. For example, in the Nova party, that were many civilians and hundreds of terrorists killing them. There were jets and helicopters that didn't know exactly who is a civilian and who is a terrorist and what to do. And yes, there were a lot of stand down kind of orders that try to be assessed first. What are we going to do and who are we going after? It was one big chaos. Again, it's not an excuse. I'm open. There are questions that need to be answered. But yeah, it seems like we were overwhelmed, and that's exactly what Hamas planned, and they succeeded that we were just in one big chaos and overwhelmed from different ground zeros, different places, and thousands of injured and dead.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have acknowledged that there was a big failure on the Israel side with
Yeah.
this. How much do you blame America? Because Just the News just put out an article today talking about the missed warnings, not only on the Israel side, but that the Pentagon admitted it had zero clue about Hamas's specific plans, despite all these warnings of rising violence. And then, as I said before, there was that 40-page blueprint of the attack, but it was brushed off as unrealistic. So how much do you blame America for not being able to see this coming either?
So it's out for me to blame the Pentagon or the U.S. Army because, or the intelligence agencies, because how can we blame you if that's our number one goal to prevent it in Israel, and we ourselves failed in it. What I can blame is that the policies of Biden that it happened on his shift as the president of the USA and the leader of the free world, that it's the same weakness that was showed around the world actually, and made many terrorist organizations in different countries, including Russia with Ukraine and many other wars, it gave them the boldness, uh, really to do whatever they want to do without too much of a fear of the Biden administration. Just one thing that signaled a lot of weakness was, for example, the Afghanistan withdrawal that was horrible, one of the most humiliating footages that came out of any U.S. war, and that gave those terrorist organizations a lot of wind behind their back to do what they want to do and not fear of someone who's considered to be crazy for them, like Trump, that they have no idea what he's going to do, what's his next move. And one of the hostages, actually, Israeli hostages that is not even on the right, after he was released, after the deal that was that Trump pushed for, he said that the moment when Trump was elected, already in the tunnels, that he was in the tunnels with the terrorists changed completely, and they started to feel fear, and they started to give him more food and started to treat him nicer because they were afraid of the crazy Trump and what he's going to do to us. Because he talks to them, they understand when he threats, they fear of the threat. When Biden threatened, and he said in every interview, he and Kamala Harris said, don't. It didn't really make any effect on them. But when Trump got into the White House, then the first day they released already dozens of hostages. So that shows you exactly how they felt about it.
So I'm sure this does make you hopeful about his efforts for peace. We addressed the whole major conspiracy theory, or whatever you want to call it, that perhaps Israel knew of this and allowed it to happen for their end goals. And you've addressed that, and you said, no, I think this is just a major failure that caused, a ripple effect of all kinds of things.
Yeah.
As far as the other complaint that is put out there, okay, so maybe they didn't know it was coming and it happened, but now Benjamin Netanyahu is using this as an opportunity to go after his enemies and gain land, and he's not afraid to kill off women and children, innocent bystanders. What is your response to that accusation?
Okay, first of all, 2 years passed. I don't know how much land we gain. We are attacking inside Gaza. We are in a war. It's like saying that USA gained land inside Iraq in the war. I don't think it's exactly gaining. It's more like fighting. We went after our enemies. President Trump himself said Iran was the head of the snake. He said Iran was poor before when I left the White House in the last time. We are fighting our enemies. Yes, we used opportunities like with Hezbollah, and we see what happened with Syria. I don't know how much Israel has to do with that, but country after country, the countries that Iran pushed and gave money to and gave weapons and missiles to, whether if it's Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, they're all falling one after another. And of course, the number one enemy, Iran, we attacked there as well. The reason I don't, it's like when they say genocide, if Israel is doing a genocide, it's maybe one of the worst, not effective genocides ever, because it's actually the population is only growing in Gaza. But it's all, it seems like they try to give excuses. I can ask America, what will America do? What America did after 9/11, and if we look at per capita, what happened to Israel, more than 1,000 dead in one day. If you look per capita, it's like in September 11, if it was 40,000 American dead, just to show you the amount of people who died and And again, we would expect America to react much more harshly, even. And we can look at the war against the Nazis in the 40s. A lot of civilian died in Germany, and nobody said a thing because they were fighting a Nazi enemy. And the same here, we are fighting an enemy that is hiding behind women and children, and it's very sad what happened to women and children. But that's something that the society in Gaza need to solve by themselves if they want to get out of this nightmare. They elected Hamas, and now they need to take Hamas off power themselves. And it's yes, it's very complicated and very bloody when terrorists are hiding inside a hospital, inside a school, and shoot from this school at our civilians. Some things are justified as an answer to that, some are not, but it will be dirty and bloody when we fight this kind of war. Yeah, and as I said, no land was conquered sense, and we didn't take any ownership. And we actually listened to Trump. Almost everything that they request from Israel is answered since he entered the White House. It's also a lot of conspiracies about Bibi Netanyahu, and he has this bigger plan. And I don't believe that's the case. I believe that he does use this war to take down all of the other enemies that relate in indirect or indirect way to this war.
It is really hard to make sense of what's happening because I think you would agree that there is a lot of propaganda on both sides.
Yeah,
Obviously, you are going to speak for mainly for Israel, but there's the hard stance there where there's just outright denial that any women or children are suffering in Gaza, which is ridiculous to me. And then
no, I admit
there's
it. Mhm.
okay, thank
I
you.
know
But
children
I'm
and
saying you'll
women
get
are suffering in
extreme,
Gaza, and
yeah,
also
you'll
in
get
Iraq,
extreme
the
stuff
women and
like that.
children suffer. Yeah,
And then from the other side, you'll get that, oh, everybody's Zionists and they want to take over the world. And so I mean, there's very extreme views on both sides. And so it's very hard as even a news deliverer who is trying to get to the truth. It's very hard to get to the truth on this and I have actually held back on having strong opinions either way because I can sit here and admit, I don't know. I do not know because I also know how propaganda works. Having been worked in
yeah.
this world for so long, I'm like, so I don't know necessarily what the truth is when it comes to all of these reports coming out from both sides, if you will. So, I mean, knowing that and admitting that yes, there are people that are suffering on both sides, is there any advice you can give to trying to sort through and get just the facts, pulled back from the emotion of it, which is hard, obviously, because people are, like I said, the overall fact is people are dying, people are suffering, and innocent people are
Yeah.
getting sucked into this. But is there any way to try and just get like, how do we get the facts on this?
Yeah, so the way I think, first of all, we need to know who the sides are. When you look at, for example, at Hamas, for many Americans, all of Westerners, it's very hard to fathom what does it exactly mean. What do you mean hiding behind women and children and using them as human shield? So for that, we need to understand their mentality, which is very, very different than in the West. In the West, we're trying to hide the women and children, and they are putting them in the front, and they know to play on the feelings of the West, so they take
Mm,
great footage, like great in not exactly great. What I mean is a quality footage of the worst thing they can take and publish it to the world. It's kind of they literally have a propaganda machine. Israel actually, I really don't recommend, especially to listen only to people who try to explain that are on the Israeli side, trying to explain only the justice of Israel. I want you to also look at footage of October 7, also look what happens in Gaza, and remember the facts. There are hostages in Gaza. Israeli hostages. We are talking about 48 hostages that around half are alive and half are dead. And all we ask to stop it, to stop the bloodshed, all we ask is to get our hostages back, to get Israeli hostages back. And if it's so bad there, if it's so hard, why won't Hamas and the people of Gaza give back the hostages of Israel? You can justify if it's too much force, less much force. We can also look again at history and look at America in Iraq and Afghanistan, and there were many horrible stories about children and women and children there as well. But if it's so bad there, and you really, and there was a famine, as they said, which turned out to be a lie, and New York Times had to publish an apology for showing hungry kids, and it actually was from another place, or they were sick, or many other excuses. If it's so bad, bring back our hostages. Israel is doing over the top to get back the hostages, and still Hamas just take their time. We agree to all Trump conditions to end the war. Only a few days ago, Netanyahu was in the White House. He agreed to everything. And we just wait since then for a week or more. We wait for Hamas to give us an answer. And they take their time and they think about it, and they want to add a clause here and want to add an amendment there. If they're suffering that much, why won't they just agree to Trump's conditions, not Israel? The last agreement was made by Trump, and all of the Arab countries signed on it. So why we only waiting for Hamas to agree for it after Israel and all of the Arab countries agreed to the same conditions of the USA? So those are facts. Those things that you can check. You don't. It's not a matter of opinion. So you can see that in the end, when you deal with a terrorist organization, it's very, very difficult to whether if you deal with a country or with a Western country that you can talk with. With them, you cannot talk. And again, we agree to all the terms of Trump.
Speaking of waiting, and I got to start to wrap
Yeah,
up with you, but speaking of waiting
sure.
on Hamas right now, President Trump did give a deadline that has come and gone. So, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, President Trump gave us 72 hours to Hamas. The 72 hours passed. He said then, he wrote a tweet on Sunday night, you have till Sunday night to decide. So Hamas is meeting tomorrow night. They're meeting in Egypt with the Israeli delegate, and they're going to talk with them, and they want another clause there and to add something there. And it seems like they're just stretching the time. And the next few days will be the days that will decide the fate of this war. Are we finishing the war, or are we continuing, as Trump said? Again, the USA president said, or all hell breaks loose and all bets are off if Hamas won't agree to the terms in the next few days. So those are the two ways that we can go with. In the next few days, we will know.
Excellent. Well, Tamir, how can folks follow your work on keeping us educated on what's going on with this?
Sure. So my podcast is it's America Lelo Filtering, America Unfiltered on Spotify, and of course they can follow me on Twitter, on Facebook, Tamir Gedalia, and we can connect there.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your coverage on this. I think we can all agree that we want to continue to pray for these families that have lost family members and pray for protection of the innocent on both sides of this. Just pray a spiritual covering over them, that they can at least be protected apart from this ongoing conflict, because it is just so heartbreaking to see. Thank you so much, Tamir.
Thank you, Kristi.